Imagine a world where traditional Mexican street food collides with the energy of metal and punk. A place where every bite challenges the norm and every dish tells a story of defiance and innovation. This isn't your typical pop-up. It's a movement that's shaking up the foundation of what we think food should be. Our guest today is a chef who's been making waves, not just for his incredible flavors, but the way he's transforming the pop-up scene. He's a James Beard nominee, a culinary disruptor, and someone who's unafraid to push the boundaries and ask the hard questions. In this episode, we'll uncover the journey that led him in this culinary revolution and explore his thoughts on the future of fine dining. We also dive into some controversial debates in the food industry today. This conversation is going to challenge everything you think you know about food. So who is this evil culinary maverick? Who's behind the fusion of street food and punk culture? Today, we sit with Alex Garcia from Evil Cooks. I'm your host, Chef Ismael, and this is Chef Ismael's Kitchen Quest. Alex, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast today. I'm extremely excited to have you on. You have done so much in your career, and it's, of course, has gone unnoticed due to the accolades and the following that you have. And I think it's an absolutely amazing story that I was able to watch you in these mini docuseries and watching you doing your different types of events and so forth. And so I invited you on because I wanted to see who you are, what the brand is all about, and that way more people can see who Evil Cooks and what the Evil Cooks brand is all about. So Alex, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background before you started Evil Cooks, and how did you get into the culinary world?
All right, I'm Alex Garcia. I own a brand called Evil Cooks here in Los Angeles. Basically, Evil Cooks started because I wanted to be a little bit rebel. I wanted to be a little bit different. I was tired of the chef position and all the paperwork that it comes with it. And I started drawing some shirts for cooks, and it took me a year to start like putting the brand out there for the cooks and buy some shirts. After that, people already know my trajectory. It was back then 17 years cooking. Now it's 24 years in the industry, and people start asking for food caterings, private dinners, all that kind of stuff. And I was, you know what? Let me do it. And I quit my job, cold turkey, and went with Evil Cooks. I decided to keep the same name as that shirt company, and we didn't want it to complicate things with different names, with different just like that Evil Cooks, and we kept it like that. And Evil Cooks is about just like being a little bit rebel. Do whatever you want, whatever you feel, not following orders 100%.
That's what really stood out to me about your brand is the fact that you push the boundaries of what you can do with Mexican cuisine and just food in general, actually. And you're looking at your tacos, right? That to me is like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Where you have the trompo of the octopus, and I thought that was, to me, honestly, I've never seen anything like that, and I was just like, I wonder how that works,
Yeah. I always
Yeah,
tell
no,
people like I didn't invent the wheel. The wheel was already there. I
right.
just put my evil touch there. The octopus trompo was an idea of my friend in Dallas, Texas, and he told me like, "Why you don't do it? You're doing so many types of trompos. Like, why you don't do the octopus?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll do it." So we did it, but we didn't do it with the regular al pastor marinade. We started using our recado negro, that we call our black magic, and we put in the trompo. People like it. It went viral during pandemic, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
That's awesome. So Um, how does it reflect your style and your approach to food, like the name Evil Cooks?
Evil cook. So basically, wasn't it was just meant to be. Wasn't nothing planned. Like I went to get a tattoo in my knuckles, the classic corny tattoo that evil chef that I was gonna get in my knuckles because it fits my knuckles. And when I was there, I told the guy, you know what? I don't want to be evil chef. Like that's kind of corny. Just put cook. Like I love to cook. I want to be in the kitchen. I don't want to be in the office. So I'm an evil cook. And he was like, fuck it. Let's put evil cook. He changed it right away. And, and that's what it is, evil cooks, like rebel. We don't plan anything. We don't like to plan anything at all. We go with the flow. I work in so many restaurants. I follow so many orders and for me it was like tiring. It was for me like consuming, and I wanted to be more free somehow. And that's what I found in it because that's what we went back to the streets at the beginning. We started like we were in the streets for 7 years, and it was everything about being in the streets, being in concerts, doing a lot of caterings, all that kind of stuff, random pop-ups in random cities, and it was fun. It was fun.
So you mentioned going to concerts. I used to hang out in East LA a lot. Uh, my friends and I, we would go watch Union 13 and some of these other local bands. Of course, Union 13 is a historic band in LA, but you blend street taquero culture with elements from metal and punk. How did that fusion come about, and what does it mean for you for your food and your brand?
So I tell people that I want to be a rock star for sure. That when I got here in the States, I had already the idea to make a band and, like eventually you dream with, I don't know, record a CD tour and all that bullshit. And I was all about that. But, you get here, you don't have money. My mama wasn't making enough for rent. So I couldn't find another job in the kitchen. So I ended up falling in the kitchen when I was 15, washing dishes. And it was like in between, like follow your dream or make some money. So I decided to make some money and I quit the rockstar life. But you always listen to metal. Like metal is not a phase, it's like a lifestyle. So somehow like it blend together because like I tell people like music and food is the same thing. Like it, food is a symphony and it comes together when you put all these ingredients together. So that's how I think music and food connect. But punk and metal is a little bit more rebel. You already know like it's the history of metal where like everyone wants to be a little bit rebel and make like noise. So I think this food that we do is to make a little bit of noise.
Yeah. That point that you made, whether it was becoming a rock star or working in the food industry, and or just working and making money in general, I was honestly surprised how many cooks were in the bands, in the scenes. There was a band at the time; they were named Take Flight, and I remember the bassist would tell me that he was working as a catering cook, and and then the guitarist was also like a regular line cook, and it was just everybody's coming together, and you're right, like the restaurant industry, like you you do get a lot of those rebellious type of people who love that style of music, and I think that's honestly, I mean, I've always loved metal and punk, and you know I guess the food scene worked out perfectly for me as well. Um, the so I want to get into your culinary influences and your philosophy. So who or what are your biggest culinary influences? What are the specific? Were there any specific chefs or food cultures that shaped your cooking style?
To be honest, like back then, I used to look up to a lot, like Ferran Adrià, Wiley Freeze, all these great minds that were doing something different, thinking outside of the box. But looking into my background and looking into the chefs that I work with, I always mention my mentor. It was Chef Ruben Garcia Galvez. He make a change in my life when he started teaching me like everything that he knew, and he was like straightforward, telling me like how to do things, how to work efficiently, how to work fast, how much work to put in your career in order to make it a successful career. Until this day, sometimes I feel stuck in something. I call him and I tell him like, this is going on, and he's like, no, do this, and you'll see that it will work a lot better. And we call each other, and it's still like after so many years. And he changed my mind when he came to food because he's a man from Zacatecas, and he's been in the industry for over 40 years, and he knows so much, so many cuisines that he opened my mind that Mexican wasn't the only thing. Traditional Mexican wasn't the only way to do it. You can break rules. You can break whatever people expect from you, but make it delicious in order for to shut their mouth and feel that it's something unique.
Yeah. So, how would you describe your cooking philosophy? What do you want people to feel when they taste your food?
I tell people about our philosophy. Our philosophy is not about like, all these chefs have great quotes, great ways to think. I'm not a thinker. I'm not a poet. I'm just a rebel cook that likes to think that you can do anything great from anything simple. Our philosophy is to create great dishes from ingredients that you can find like in your backyard, ingredients that you can find in your pantry. You can make something great out of it and show that anything's possible.
So, what is the process like when creating a new dish or a concept? How do you decide what to put on the menu? Is it more of like a seasonal type of thing, or is it, just whatever pops into mind in your heart and you just put it out there? How does that work?
You can tell somehow it's seasonal because we cook a lot with whatever we find at that time on the market, whatever we find in our backyard at that time. So it has to do a lot with seasonal, but it's a lot to whatever we feel like to eat that day. If we like to eat that stuff, people will love it too. So we don't really plan any menu ahead. We love to create menus on the spot because it's more like keeps your mind like healthy, keeps your mind like working out somehow to that way you don't leave all the knowledge that you gained back then in the back burner. You want to put it to work for sure.
So you're essentially putting everything into practice as you go. I think that's such a great way to approach your skills, because at the same time, if you don't use it, you'll lose it, right? Um, so that's a pretty cool way to look at it. When you were doing the kamikaze events, um, how does that come about? Like, how does that work for you?
So the Kamakasi was started like 4 years ago. Started as all you can eat tacos, and we were like, you know what? Let's do all you can eat tacos, $25 per person. So people start coming in, and like they were down to eat like as many tacos they could, and I got bored. It's me. I tell my wife this. I'm the problem because I got bored. I was like, you know what? I'm tired of giving them just like a black al pastor, green chorizo, carnitas. Like, I want to do something else. So when they were like already through all the menu, ate all the menu, I start like going back to the backyard and grabbing some calabacitas, making a taco de calabacitas, going to our pantry, grabbing some tuna, whatever, whatever I could find. And I start like making things, tacos on the spot. And that was fun. So So one day, one of the writers here in LA, he writes for LA Taco. It's called Memo. I told him like, come over and have some tacos all you can eat. And he's like, hell yeah, I'll go. And he went. And he's like, this is like an omakase taco tasting. I'm like, yeah, I guess. And he's like, why you don't call like the kamikaze and you prep everything on the spot? Like you don't plan the menu. I'm like, that's a good idea. Like it's like a suicidal menu because you don't know if they're gonna like it or they're gonna hate it, you know. And since that day, we start calling the kamikaze and we start like a omakase taco menu. And from there, like I got bored again and I didn't want to serve everything on the taco. So we started doing actual dishes. We started doing different things. We start like putting all our knowledge, like some Asian cuisine, some European, some South American cuisine into all these dishes and make it unique.
That's so cool. The did you get pushback from going from tacos all the way to what you were doing from your last kamikaze?
Pushback from who? From
Like,
myself?
you had your clientele, right, who said, they loved your al pastor
Taco.
tacos or your green chorizo tacos, but then you kind of went into like the calabecitas and you started going into more of the composed dishes. Did you get any pushback from any of those people who were already fans of that and they were like, hey, why don't you just stick with your roots or something like that, or why are you
Yeah,
expanding? Okay.
we still get people like that, especially right now with the restaurant. With the restaurant, we work during the day at the restaurant. We have the regular menu, the taco menu that everyone knows, and everyone comes for the octopus, everyone comes for the black pastor. But at night, we have something more like a sit-down dinner, and where you have your server, where you have more composed dishes, and they're like, "Oh, I came just for a burrito, the pastor," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, but we have all this." So they kind of like they don't really want it; they just want the simple stuff. But somehow they already know us, and they're gonna have to explore something else than use tacos. And that's the whole point. Like we love tacos, we eat tacos, we make everything into a taco for ourselves. But when it comes to the artistic side, says like let's do something else. Let's have some fun for sure.
It's kind of hard to sometimes sell something like that, especially for someone like me, because usually when I do catering events or even a private chef event, where I'm doing like a party of 20 or party even of 12, sometimes they're just so stuck with the basic tacos or their basic pasta, and it's because they it's what they know, it's what they enjoy. But I in my perspective, the Latino culture don't really like too much change. They like to stick with the what they already know, right? Your tacos de carne asada, de lengua, de al pastor, or whatever it is, right? How do you navigate through that, especially when you have those traditionalists who come into your restaurant and specifically want that?
We're in a city called El Sereno. El Sereno is a city that it's basically mostly Mexican Americans. So Mexican Americans have a different diet than Mexicans. They're used to whatever they grow up and whatever however their mom cook like certain meals, they think that's the right way and they're not gonna change their mind. They're like stubborn. And I'm telling you because my wife and her family are like that. So in order to change those minds, sometimes you have to challenge them and tell them like if you don't like it, you don't pay for it, but try it. And sometimes like I get like that with some clients because I already know them and like El Sereno is a small community and I tell them like try it. If you don't like it, you don't pay for it. And they end up falling in love with it. And that's my whole idea, like change minds when it comes to food. Because you have all that people that they don't eat octopus, they're afraid to eat octopus because they never had octopus. But I tell them like this is not your regular octopus. Like it's not gonna be chewy at all because you have that mentality that it's gonna be chewy. Like I'm here to change your mind and make it fall in love with it. And it happened a lot. And I think that's a part of the job that I love so much.
I think the most important aspect of what you are saying, especially since you're saying if you don't like it, you don't pay for it, is the execution. octopus, for example, is one of those ingredients that not everyone knows how to cook with. And if you don't do it right, you're right. Like it comes out chewy, it comes out tough, and it's unenjoyable because now you're fighting against the octopus to eat it, right?
Yeah.
But I think that having that skill set and you know that know-how on how to navigate through these ingredients is extremely important. So that's absolutely amazing that you say that, and that you're able to convince people by doing that. So I want to get into the Evil Cooks brand. So Evil Cooks is known for its bold flavors and creative twists. So can you talk about the dish that has really become a signature for you?
The Right now people love the octopus. That's that thing. They travel from far and they're like, I'm here to eat your octopus. I'm like, you're here to eat the octopus, but I have this. I
Yeah.
have something else for you to try. I think that's the staple here. But if it's for me, I will say the Wellington baklava. That's something that I really love to cook. Something that I love to people to taste it for the first time and enjoy it. I think it will be the octopus and the Wellington baklava.
That's cool. So how does music, especially metal and punk, influence your cooking? Did you find, or do you find a connection between the energy of those genres and the food you create?
So our kitchen is a small kitchen. In order to get to the dining area, you have to go through the kitchen, and that's how I feel the our kitchen and punk rock, all the rebellious music comes together is because you go through the chaos in order to enjoy a meal. So that's how we connect our music with our kitchen, like this chaos, but at the end of the day, it has some kind of melody into it.
So as a pop-up vendor, you've likely faced challenges in terms of location, equipment, the crowds. How did you overcome those obstacles? And what's a memorable experience from one of your pop-ups?
Being a pop-up is super easy. It's the easiest thing ever. I was raised in the street in Mexico. I used to sell a lot of stuff in Mexico. So I think it's already in my blood. You have to be able to solve problems right away. You have to look a lot to your surroundings to see solutions. Forget about the problems. Being a pop is super easy. It's not that many challenges when it comes to setup and cook in the street. I think it's more challenges when you have a location because it's more paperwork. It's more dealing with the city, dealing with the health department, all these departments, and things that you have to fix and have to in order to have your restaurant running right away. Like right now, we just got sued. And we just open because our web page is not ADA compliant for blind people. So little things like that that you never thought that we're gonna face you were gonna face in your restaurant. I think the restaurant is a little bit harder when it comes to those little things.
Wow. Okay. I think for me it was the opposite. When when I went from restaurant to pop-up, I was like, forget, like this is hard, Like my first day ever doing it, it took me 2 days to set up. Luckily, the owner had of the location had let me set up a day before, and I was comfortable with it because he had security around the area, right? But I was like, okay, cool. So just setting up the tent, setting up because I have like walls around my tent
Yeah,
because I like to have, I don't like bugs coming in, and I want to keep it as clean as possible. And it took me a good while to set up because I'm just like, okay, so what else do I need? I'm going through my checklist, and sometimes I'm forgetting something from my checklist, and
yeah,
I'm like, I forgot to add an extra propane tank. And so that to me is like, it was challenging because at a restaurant I can just be like, I already have this, I have this, I have that.
yeah,
um, and then as far as building compliance, I mean, I guess I don't really have to do anything about that, right? Because that's more of the architectural or the owner of the building situation. But Man, I'm sorry that happened to you. I hope
No,
it all.
like I tell my wife, like when we decide to go back to the restaurant business, we say that we love these things so much that we're not gonna stress about it. Like it will solve. It's part of the show.
Yeah.
It's nothing to stress about. Like everything will come in place by itself, and we just have to pull a couple of papers and make it work.
So you mentioned that you did this also in Mexico
Mhm.
and or the pop-ups in Mexico and then and then here as well in LA. Um, what what key takeaways did you take from when your experience from Mexico and then bringing it to here? Like what made you guys stand out versus everyone else?
I always tell people like we get approached by a lot of pop-up vendors, and they want like a consejo, like something that you can tell them about the pop-up life, how they can become successful or somehow like make some living out of it. I tell people like you have to look around your product and see who's selling the same thing that you're selling. And when you find that, you think about how can I make it different in order to make it unique and make people to come to you instead of the other people around you. And even if you have a people around you, you have to think about like a network type of thing. Like if somebody comes around you to the other businesses, they're gonna see your business and come to you at some time. So when they come, you have to have something unique for them to try and to come back again. So for us, it was more like I think what it really helped it was the metal thing that you don't see that often in taqueros. It was a food truck back then called Rillemont that had almost the same vibe because they were into metal and wrestling. But like you're like, what can I do different from them? They already have that. I don't want to be them because a lot of people is gonna be like, oh, it's just like Rillemont. No, it's not like Rillemont. Like we do something different here. Like we want you to taste it to see the difference. So that's when you actually put your head to work and all your talent to work to see if you can make it happen.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that. The the pop-ups I've done were like anime, right? Because I love Yu-Gi-Oh, I love Dragon Ball Z, I love all Food Wars.
Yeah.
Uh, and when I do pop-ups where they're like, oh, we have kind of like an anime expo type of thing. The first thing I always do is always like, okay, well, I'm gonna do an anime inspired menu. So whatever Food Wars does, I'll put it on my menu and be like, hey, would you like to try the actual way that Oma does it for you guys?
Yeah.
Or the sushi, right? Buris loves sushi. Here's sushi from Buris. Enjoy it, and then, but also when I did an event called the International Food Festival in Riverside, and everybody, it was kind of like tacos or street elotes, but I went above and beyond. I was like, well, let's do fine dining, let's do Wagyu sliders, let's do truffle mac and cheese, and so forth. Kind of like more of an elevated type of taste.
Yeah.
And it definitely, I stood out, even though I didn't have like the proper signage. I did pretty good actually. Um, and I think that definitely helped with the difference in food. And I think people who go to these types of events are expecting to try something different, you know, whether it's like a little sampler or even like a whole meal. Because when was the last time you had a whole steak with mashed potatoes and asparagus at a pop up, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I did a New York Wagyu steak, and did that, and it sold fairly well. Um, but the can you tell us your can you tell us about your experience with events like Smorgasburg LA? How does it feel to interact with such a diverse crowd, and how do you tailor your offerings to these kinds of settings?
So Smorgasburg is a great event here in LA. They host probably like over 60 vendors, food vendors, and everyone has something different and unique to offer to the people. And we get people from all over the state because people know Smorgasburg because of New York. That's where they started. They have one in Miami now. They have this one in LA. So if they travel to LA, for sure, Smorgasburg is gonna be a destination. So for us to stand out, you have to be unique when it comes to your setup and then your food too. Because if you get their eye when it comes to your setup, they're gonna be like, oh, they have a nice setup. Let me see if the food is that good as the setup. So you have to match the setup somehow. So basically, what we start offering at Smorgasburg, when we started there, we weren't offering like nothing fantastic. It was like we wanted to offer gorditas and chalupas, simple stuff, and people wasn't buying it. They didn't really like it. So at one point, we're like, you know what? Let's play with the black al pastor because it's Halloween coming, and I'm like, but I don't want to use painted with black. I want to actually give flavor to it, something different that stays out of the normal. Like I don't want the normal pastor. So we started doing the recado negro. My stepdad's from Yucatan, so I asked him if I could use his recado negro recipe, and that's what we did just for one day. And people start getting crazy for it. They start coming back for it. So that's how we end up adding more items, more proteins actually with the same marinade. And from there, like we start adding crazy stuff that we were like, you know what, let's try it just for the fuck of it. Like our Maxaden, a lot of people, we started doing the Maxaden because back then during pandemic, one day I got a burger from down the street and I wasn't eating bread. I was like, you know what, bread raised my sugar too high, so I'm just gonna have it in a tortilla. Tortilla is still carb, but doesn't shoot my sugar too high. So I told Elvia, like, you know what, I had this one time when I was in Mexico City, probably like 30 years ago. It's a puesto called Don Toño. All he sells is tacos de hamburguesa, and he puts just like the patty on the tortilla, and you can put sauce on it, and that's it. So I was like, this is like a homage to him. And I was like, you think we should put in the menu? She's like, I don't know if people are gonna buy it here. So we start putting it. It became a hit. So everything that we start putting in the menu was just a crazy idea that we had and start becoming a hit just suddenly. And that's how we tailor to Smorgasburg. Like you have to put up something crazy, something different, something out of the normal.
That's so cool. um, so I want to get into food culture and community. In your opinion, what role does food play in community building, and how does Evil Cooks foster that sense of connection?
I think food is a huge role when it comes to put community together because who doesn't agree in having a good meal? Even you can disagree having a good meal. Like you put people together when it comes to eat. Like you call your friend and you tell them, like, let's go to eat, and that's how you guys start catching up. So same here in the community. I think we're really involved with the community here in El Sereno because we try to help as much they help us because a lot of people here in El Sereno is been supporting us like strongly. Like we have customers that they come like every week, twice a week, even two times out of the day, and we like to support like that when it comes to Christmas, to Thanksgiving. If we have to do like anything in the community and they ask us for it, like we help them because we always get that help back. And that's how food became like a glue to this community somehow.
That's awesome. That's to me, in my opinion, I mean, that's such a beautiful thing to hear because um your brand bringing people together from all walks of life, whether they're metal fans or just, like just your regular people out there, right? You're bringing them together with your food, and you're helping out the community, and vice versa, they're helping you guys out. So that's
It,
amazing.
the kamakasi was it was something that the kamakasi brought to us. We used to do it in the front of our house, so we used to call it fine dining on the streets.
Hmm.
And we have a gate, and we used to keep the gate closed. And whenever they arrived, we used to open the gate for them, walk in, check in, and sit down in their seat. It was a table with 20 seats, and we used to have like hardcore customers that they used to go to every kamikaze, and we used to have like once we got like the director of LACMA. One time we got like some museum people, and as soon as they crossed that gate, they left their whatever they belong to in the street, get in the house and like start talking to that punk that was next to him. So that was the whole thing about food, like bringing people together and let them forget about their status. So I think this is what Vivo Cooks at Corazon Abierto restaurant is now. It's about like bringing people to this patio that we have and forget about who they are and just like enjoy some good food and listen to some metal music.
That's that's pretty cool. That's so cool. Um, so you've embraced a unique aesthetic with dark, rebellious themed. How do you think this resonates with today's food culture, and what do you think it says about the way food is experienced?
That's a hard question. Like I have to really think about that one. Can you break it down for my little brain a little bit more?
Don't say that. Okay. So, um, so essentially, the dark, rebellious theme of your food and your culture, and not culture. I mean, the lifestyle. Okay. The reason why I'm asking this question is because as of late, a lot of people have been embracing the bad guy type of thing, right? I'm seeing a lot more of the kind of like I'm not saying I don't want to say like emo, but like kind of like the punk and very metal, and it's been out even more in pop culture. And so now that you play a huge role in how food is experienced in the metal way. So what do you think people are what do you think people are experiencing or are wanting out of your food when it comes down to metal, punk, and that rebellious nature of yours? Um, into what are they expecting out of your food? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think people expect like the food to be like they see evil cakes and the first thing they ask me is like, is everything spicy? Because like evil somehow they think it's gonna be you're gonna play something like a bad joke with them and make everything spicy for them not to be able. And I tell them like no, like actually evil cakes is because the devil is in the detail. Like if you pay attention to the details that we have in our menu in our restaurant or pop up before, like you can see that it's a lot of thought and a lot of things that we're gonna show through our food. And I think when they expect us to be like some rude person, bad person, but when they get in here and they finally get to meet us, get to taste our food, they end up like falling in love. And I think like that's what the business is about. It's about like make them feel a different experience than other restaurants and make them feel that it's something unique, something good that they can come back anytime they want and they're gonna feel safe here, not scared at all.
There you go. Yes, that's a great way. That's a great answer. Um, and the what's the most rewarding part of running a pop-up? Do you find it more about the food or the experience, or is it something entirely different?
I think the most rewarding part was that I was free and I'm still free. I could find my happiness in food again. And because at one point I was in love with the industry, but I was tired of the jobs because I couldn't find myself. I was like stuck in life. So I think the more rewarding part is that I'm happy now. I'm really enjoying this, and I'm building something that I have worked so many years for, and I think it came at the perfect and the right moment and the perfect place. And now every time that I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm doing whatever here in the restaurant, I go back to my old jobs and I'm like, oh shit, that's why I was practicing for this moment to make it in practicing my own restaurant. So everything that I lived back then, everywhere I worked before, like it's uh it's a reward. This is like what I was expecting my whole life.
It's weird how life throws us these moments where now, one minute you're washing dishes at a restaurant making minimum wage, and now you're a business owner and one of the most in LA's one of LA's most popular restaurants. And it really, like, when you really look at it and you just take a seat back and you're just thinking about it, right? Especially now that, the time of we're recording is December 31st. You're looking back and you're like, dang, like, we did this. This is, all of our hard work, from washing that dish to now creating, beautiful moments for our guest. How does that
Yeah.
feel?
It feels great. To be honest, like sometimes like I think about it and I'm like, this was like I think I tell people it was meant to be because we found this restaurant in at the end of September. October we signed the lease and we had a month, just 1 month to flip this over and make it work. And we love this industry so much. We love evil kids so much that we made it happen. We didn't sleep like probably we slept like 2 3 hours a day, and you're like you look back then and you're like, oh shit, like we made it happen. And why we made it happen? Because we love it, and I think we're crazy enough to live this life.
Man, I'm so happy for you and for Elvia. Like, that to me is such a amazing story. And I love watching, my former cooks jump into running a restaurant at that point, right? Not just being a chef, but now being a business owner. And I've always, whenever they call me and just to say hello, whatever, that's one thing I've always said to my former cooks. It was like, I'm so proud of you. I'm like, I couldn't be happier for them, and I think that takes a lot of guts to do, because you have to really believe in what you're doing in order for it to work, but also the amount of passion, and it shows with your food and shows with your attitudes. It shows with your passion in what you do. So, I mean, man, I'm so happy for you and Elvia. Like, that to me, I don't know, like, just makes me really happy to see such a beautiful thing happen to you guys. Um, so I want to get into, like, your James Beard nomination. I just have one question. You've had the incredible honor of being James Beard nominated. Can you share what that experience was like, and how did that impact both your career and your approach to cooking? Did it change the way you think about your work or your place in the culinary world?
So basically, a lot. When I was a chef, like as a chef, you always won a Michelin star. You always won a James Beard nomination. You won best chef, everything. And when I started doing evil cooks, I say, you know what, fuck that. I'm not gonna think about it anymore. Like I'm just gonna do what I love to do. And I tell people like when you start focusing on the things outside, you start focusing on your work. So when you start focusing on your work, that's when those people around your work start looking at you, and that's when you end up like with all these recognitions that are always welcome because it brings a lot of business to you, and that's what how we cooks survive with business. That whatever brings business is always welcome. So that day we got the James Beard nomination, I was asleep. I got a call from Texas. They're ahead from time. My friend called me like, "Dude, you guys are on James Beard nominated." I'm like, "Yeah, shut up." And I hang up. I went back to sleep. And then Elvia wake me up and, hey, Alex, we're in the James Beard thing. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, no, dude, we're just a fucking pop up. Like, how? Like, it's not, it's not possible. And yeah, it happened. And we were so happy because, it brings eyes to your business, it brings people to eat with you. Same thing happened with us when we were nominated for the 101 Best Restaurants. We were nominated 2 years in a row. So one day I get an email from a random LA Times people, and they're like, "Oh, we need to set up a date to shoot some pictures." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I told them like, "We're available this day." They come and she's like, "You know what these pictures are for?" Like, I'm not idea. Like, you guys always like messages. We're always down for whatever. Like, because you guys are nominated for the 101 Best Restaurants in LA. I'm like, okay, cool. So you get all those nominations, all those awards, and it makes you happy that you finally somehow say, I'm gonna put it aside. I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm not gonna focus on being the best. I'm not gonna focus on doing anything. I'm just gonna do what I love to do. So that's, I think, what it's destiny. It was meant to be for you. When you don't expect anything and you get everything, that's destiny. That's something that somebody says out there, and I'm a true believer of that because right now in my career, I'm 40 years old. I don't expect anything out of this. I expect people to be happy. I expect people to smile when they taste something crazy in their plate, to smirk, to go back to the street, pass through the kitchen and say like, fuck, that was an amazing meal. We'll see you guys next week. So that's rewarding for me already. But receiving all these awards, like for sure, something good for your business and something that everyone needs because, we live out of people who love to eat, and a lot of people who love to eat read all these articles.
Yeah, that's freaking amazing. I mean, it getting these nominations or even awards, like it does boost your not only the team's morale but also your it, in a sense it validates all the hard work that you're doing, even though you're not chasing it. Because to me, again, like I have these Michelin stars up here because I want to remind myself of not only what am I trying to work towards, but also I'm upholding those standards, right? I'm upholding not only just the food aspect of things, but I want to keep my things clean. I want to keep um my skills sharp. I want to be able to keep everything to the standards of at least one Michelin star, right? But 3 is the highest you can go, so I'm gonna aim for the highest I can possibly go for, right? But that's pretty amazing. So now that we're getting into kind of like the dining conversation right now, I want to get into like a kind of like a controversial question that's gonna kind of pique the the interest of some people maybe. But do you think restaurants should be held accountable for serving overly expensive food that doesn't justify the price, or is the experience and reputation enough to warrant the cost?
I tell people at some extent, yes, they have to feel accountable. Like we try not to put our prices too high, but if you look at them, they're high. But I tell people like, you have to have the other side of the coin too, because right now, like everything's super expensive. It's $120 a case, and these things that people don't see that they think like, oh shit, like why is so expensive? And I can break it down like now more now than ever. Like I have employees now, I have to pay them. I have to pay things that I never thought they were too expensive, like trash. I have to pay trash. I have to pay insurance. I have to pay a little bit of everything. Everyone wants a penny out of you. So in order to pay that, some people put their price too high. But I tell people like if you're gonna price it too high, you have to give them quality and an experience in order for people to feel that it was worth it. I thought that it was a steal, but now that I'm tasting it, it was worth it, and it's worth the experience. So yes, people should feel accountable for for whatever they charge for their product, but until at some point, not all the way.
Yeah, I think that having a what was it called? What was that word I'm looking for? It's kind of like business morals, right? Being able to I'm not you're not trying to rip off people. You're trying to not only pay your bills also, but also like showcase. You should be showcasing the ingredients. Does that make sense? So I mean,
Like
if
I
you
tell people, we have a tomahawk in the menu. I love steak, and this is a place that you can get the tomahawk, the cheap. I think the cheapest tomahawk in all LA, and I try to keep it like that because it's something that I feel comfortable paying. I will be feel like comfortable paying like right now I think it's $80 a tomahawk, and you get like the tomahawk, you get the tortillas, and you're like, yeah, but I can get tortillas on the store. Yeah, but we grind our own corn here. We make everything from scratch. I don't kill the cow and I don't butcher it, but I try to get the best cut. And I tell people like I try to keep it low, but until like it hits that point where I'm able to pay all the expenses that I have.
yeah, $80 is a very affordable price for a tomahawk, and I'm assuming it feeds two people, right?
Feed street people. These 2 pounds
Great.
of used pure meat.
Right. Okay. Wow. No, that's awesome. Um, okay, cool. All right, so I want to get into your challenges and your future plans. What are some of the biggest challenges you face running Evil Cooks, and how do you tackle them?
I think right now the biggest challenge is to educate people and somehow mm, teach them about like more fine dining, especially here in El Sereno, because we don't have any fine dining restaurants here in El Sereno. So it's a transition. We're not fully fine dining yet, but we're our goal is to get there and to showcase them. And Sereno is a lot of talent. Like it's not just us. Like it's a lot of chefs that they don't do it here because they feel that it's not a market here. But that's the thing. Somebody has to educate people and make them feel that fine dining is for everyone. Everyone deserves a good plate, uh, something, and a different experience. So that's what we're trying to do: educate people right now.
That's awesome. What you just said kind of reminded me of a story of a shoe salesman goes into a Native American what was it called village, and they're there, and he's trying to sell them shoes, but he sees that they're not wearing shoes, so he walks away and he says they don't wear shoes, walk away. Then as they're passing through, he says, hey, another shoe salesman comes by, right? And he says, hey, I'm gonna go over to that village. What do you think? And the man who left the village said, they don't wear shoes. I'm not gonna sell anything over there. And so then the other man that's gonna go to the village says, they don't wear shoes. My mentality is now, well, I'm gonna make them wear shoes then. Not make them, but like, have them buy the shoes. So
Make them understand that
the
shoes
value.
will help them somehow.
Yes. So I mean that you kind of have to like go, be that person where, hey, people don't think fine dining is not going to work here, but then you're that person like, hey, we're gonna slowly inch your way through, right? So this is what Mexican food, or what my food, Evil Cooks, can do with food, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that's good. The food scene is constantly evolving. Where do you see Evil Cooks in the next 5 years, and what new projects or collaborations are you excited about?
So Evil Cooks has done events, and I think we'll be doing more events, especially now that we have a space. We do something called the Disciples of the Corn once a year, where we gather like chefs from all over. And I think that's something that I want to showcase. So what we do basically is a 32-course meal. Each course represents each state of Mexico, and that's something that I want to put out there for people, for them to try different dishes from different parts of Mexico. And it's something that we've been doing already for 2 years. This coming year will be our third year, and it's something that I think we need definitely put out there. And I hope to collaborate with chefs from all over the world, not just here in the States. Right now, I think this year we'll be adding a chef from Mexico, Tijuana. and little by little adding more chefs, going around the world, why not, and doing in other parts of the world, like why not in Europe, why not to do it in Africa, why not to do it in Asia, just to make people experience something different, something unique.
Man, that's amazing. I remember seeing that the first time, and I was like, ah. For one, I wanted to be part of it, and number two, I wanted to eat there, you know. And I think that's pretty cool that you want to bring people from all over the world and do that. Um, I was telling my previous guest that I do want to have all the chefs who are on my podcast come together and do kind of like what you're doing with the Disciples of the Corn event, and that way people who listen to the podcast are like, oh, well, I've tried food from Alex, I've tried food from FPSA, Andre, right? I could try food from Weaver and Blades, and so forth. So I think I think that's a pretty cool adventure you guys are doing and you guys are implementing. So what advice would you give others thinking of starting their own pop-up food business?
I always tell people when they ask me, what advice will you give us now that I'm starting my own business? I tell them, like, first, if you have a job, quit your job right away. Because if you have a job and you want to do this, you're not gonna be fully in your business. You're gonna be like, oh, I have my check, so the pop up can wait a little bit. I'll do the pop up next week. I'll do it every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. But when you don't have a job and you don't have a check coming in, you have to find the way to make it work. And that's the only way that you're gonna find solutions. That's the only way you're gonna make things work. That's the only way you're gonna get creative. That's the only way you'll be you give yourself to your business 100% because you cannot be working 50-50 because it's not gonna work. So if you're gonna do it, just do it.
I completely agree with you. You have to be 100% committed to do this. It's not something that you could just do on the weekend. And it involves so much work. Not only just the cooking aspect of things, but also setting up the financial side of things, the taxes, and it's a lot. And if you're not 100% in it, then it's probably not the best idea for you to do it.
Yeah, and everything's consistency. Keep it consistent. Like do it. Make people to see you that you're there. They because if they see you 1 week and they don't see you in, like in a month, like they're gonna forget about you. That's how people is now these days. Like if they don't see you, they forget about you. So you have to keep your brand like constantly showing. You have to create a brand, something simple, but that can stay in people's mind.
Awesome. So I have a couple fun questions for you. Um, if you could cook for any person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I know a lot of people will say for someone famous, but I will cook for one of my aunts. Her name is Yolanda. I remember when I cooked for her one time before I came to the States, I could use a simple scrambled egg. And she's like, I never had something like this. It was a French omelet. Um, and and she was so happy. She told me like, you're good at this. Make sure if you ever cook, like be the best doing it, because you have to be the best at whatever you do. If you're a robber, be the best. If you're a criminal, be the best criminal. But you always have to be the best at whatever you do, no matter what it is. Be the best, and that always stayed on my mind. And I will cook for her because I would like to show her what I accomplished from that day until this day.
That's awesome. That's a really good answer. Not, I mean, everybody goes like Gordon Ramsay or Anthony Bourdain, and I'm not knocking on them either. But
No, I love Anthony Bourdain, and it will be cool to if I ever met him. But yeah, I think my aunt will be that person.
yeah, it's someone who inspired you to rebellious, and I think that's awesome. Um, that was funny though. Best criminal and best robber. um,
That's what she told me. Like, whatever you do, be the best.
the what's the most unexpected or wild ingredient you've ever worked with so far, and would you ever use it again?
The most wild. Mm, I think camel. I love to cook with camel. It was the wildest thing I gathered at that time, and I'm like, you know what? I love to cook with camel. I love to eat camel. Um, yeah, I think I will cook like with a whole camel, like put in underground and make like a barbacoa type of thing.
Really? That's wow. That's
And
cool.
when I had it with a friend from Syria, and they usually have it like a tartare. They just add some rice and some onions to it, and eat it with like uh, naan, and that's it. So it was pretty good with butter.
Man, that would be a giant hole though, just to put a camel in there.
Yeah, and I seen it. I seen it somewhere that they do it.
Really?
They put the whole camel in down, and
That's interesting. I've never seen anybody eating camel before, but now I know. That's pretty cool. Now I'm down to try it. All right. So before we wrap up, is there anything else, or is there anything you want to share with listeners about upcoming events, special menus, or any new projects you look for Evil Cooks?
I just want to invite people to come over to the restaurant, experience something unique, something cool, and have some food. Like we're gonna have like a lot of dishes coming up this coming year. We like to we have a menu where we like to change it, and we expect something different every time that you come.
For those who want to be in the culinary industry, what advice would you give them?
If you want to be in the industry, make sure that you're crazy enough. You're not gonna make that much money at the beginning. Uh, you're not gonna have days off as you expected. No weekends off, no holidays, and you'll hate it at the beginning. You start loving it when you start like finding out that it's a lot crazy people in the kitchen industry like you, and you'll find love for it, and you'll see that it's worth it for sure.
Where can our listeners find you next, and how can they keep up with the journey?
So they can find us for sure in El Sereno. Our address is 3333 Northeastern Avenue here in Los Angeles, California. And if you want to see more what we post, you can find us on Instagram at evil_cooks. And you see a little bit of us.
Awesome. Alex, I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to sit down and speak to me about your culinary journey. I look forward to going to your restaurant in the very, very near future. And you've been saying I've been needing to go, and I will go for sure. And I definitely want to try out your menu, and hopefully I can see if I could try out everything before I get to. But I do want to try out your food, and you guys are probably like an hour and a half drive away. Definitely get out there. And so again, I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me and speak to me about this. And that I wish you and your family a very happy New Year.
Thank you.
And a profitable one as well. I hope that you guys continue to thrive and more good things happen to you and your family. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Happy New Year, and hopefully you have fun today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chef.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, you too.